Hey everyone, welcome to my album collection overview. I can't wait to get started. Before we get started, I would like to say during this viewing, if you have any albums that you want to recommend to me that I should listen to, please drop them down in the comments. I love listening to new music and I'm really excited every time somebody tells me about an album that they love so that I can go ahead and check it out. I hope you enjoy the video. All right, so I'm not sure exactly how many vinyls I have at the moment. I think it's something like 40. 45 maybe, but I really started collecting vinyls in July because for a lot of my life I only really listened to the stuff that my mom listened to or that my sister listened to, and I accrued a playlist over the years, but it wasn't anything monumental and it wasn't very diverse. But I started listening to more hip-hop, more metal, more grunge, more pop rock, and I really started to fall in love with music, and that's why I started collecting vinyl because obviously, you know me, I'm a huge collector. So I thought vinyl was a really cool form of media that not is as popular as I wish it was, but I'm glad that I got into it. So I'm just gonna go through a lot of these albums, tell you my basic thoughts. I don't wanna have the video be too long, but I definitely wanna give you my opinions on a lot of these albums. I'm gonna clear a little bit of space just so I can get. All right, I'm gonna go in order, alphabetical order from A to Z based on the artist, and I'll do their newest stuff first and then go backwards, so it'll make sense. So first off, I have The Maybe Man by AJR. I really like this album. Favorite track on here has to be Maybe Man. The Dumb Song is also pretty good, but this is a really good album. I think AJR gets a lot of hate, and I don't think it deserves a lot of it because their music is actually really catchy, but I get sometimes they have some corny writing, so I can see why people don't love it. Next we have The Click by AJR as well. This one, classic. I loved a majority of the songs on here, and I used to listen to this album all the time when it first came out, and it's definitely one of their best. I would say top 3 for sure, but I think Neo Theater would be number 1. And that's all the AJR I have right now because those were the only 2 that were available at Barnes & Noble, honestly. So I'll get the other one soon. Next up, we have this Benson Boone album, Fireworks and Rollerblades. It could be called Rollerblades and Fireworks, but I think it's Fireworks and Rollerblades. This album's amazing. Ghost Town, Beautiful Things, Slow It Down, In the Stars, Drunk in My Mind. So many good songs off of this album. If you have not listened to the whole thing, you definitely should because it's amazing. All right, now we have my favorite artist of all time. Come on. This is my Billy Joel collection. So I have 52nd Street. He has 13 albums. He has 12 albums. I've listened to 11 of them right now. I'm on the final one. He's the absolute best artist of all time. And there's 52nd Street. And I wish I had all of his vinyls. I don't yet, but I'm definitely going to. Now we have his best album of all time, The Stranger. I mean, pick a bad song on here, you definitely can't. Moving Out, The Stranger, Just the Way You Are, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, Vienna, Only the Good Die Young, She's Always a Woman, Get It Right the First Time, and Everybody Has a Dream. That is as stacked of a track list as you could possibly think of. Amazing album. If you haven't listened to it, definitely listen. All right, next Billy Joel, we have Turnstiles. And this is, in my opinion, his most different album. It's a little bit more funky and groovy. And the song, All You Want to Do Is Dance, is amazing. Amazing, amazing album. I'm going to say that for all of his stuff, but he really is an amazing artist. Next we have Street Life Serenade. Street Life Serenader and The Entertainer are 2 of his absolute best songs. So definitely listen to this album. One of his best. I'm going to eventually do a Billy Joel album ranking, but just know that it's going to be really difficult for me because I love all these albums as if they were number 1. Classic. Piano Man, one of the most striking album covers. Piano Man, obviously, the titular song. fantastic. But there's a lot of great other songs on here. The Ballad of Billy the Kid is a great song. And I forget the word. Stop in Nevada. I mean, I'm from Nevada, so I love that song. But it's a great song, independent from that. Definitely a good album. And my final Billy Joel album, which I had actually never heard of this one until I started collecting albums, is Cold Spring Harbor. Now this album is his first one, and it's so soft, it's so emotional, and the first song on it is She's Got Away, which, come on, that's one of his best songs of all time. And you could see through his songs that he really progressed as an artist, but he started out amazing. All right, next up we have an artist that not many people know of, and I recently found them out as well, but they're amazing, is Black Pumas, and this is their self-titled album, and it's amazing. It's a great album. Black Moon Rising, Colors, Stay Gold. Stay Gold is a fantastic song. Definitely check this one out. This would be one of the top recommendations I would give to anybody who has not listened to it. And then I also have their second album, Chronicles of a Diamond, which has my favorite song from them, Gemini Sun. My sister can't stand that song, but she has bad music taste, so that's okay. Black Pumas, great duo. It's two guys, I forget their names, but two guys, great artists. All right, now we're getting into Mr. Bruno Mars. And this is 24K Magic. And this wasn't my favorite album. I have it because I'm a completionist and I have to get this one if I have the other ones too. And I mean, there's still some really good songs on this album. 24K Magic, Straight Up and Down, Finesse, Versace on the Floor. There's some really good songs on here, but it doesn't hit me as hard as his other two albums, because his other two albums are top albums. All right, next we have what I would consider my mom's favorite album of his. That's Unorthodox Jukebox. Some great songs in here. Gorillaz, Treasure, Young Girls. Young Girls is probably my favorite Bruno Mars song, but Locked Out of Heaven's great too. Moneymaker Smile's good. This is a great song. If I Knew, I would definitely check out this album. In my opinion, the best Bruno Mars album, and it's not even close, is his first one, Doo-Wops and Hooligans. The track list on here is just absolutely insane. I mean, just look at that. There's not a bad song on there. And not only are they all good, they're all great, too. Marry You, Grenade, Just the Way You Are, come on, classic. Next, we have my only album from this band so far, but I will be getting more. Hotel California by the Eagles. Classic album. One of the best rock albums of all time. The Eagles are the GOATs. Great stuff. And my dad's going to be very proud of this one. His favorite artist of all time is not even close. I'm literally named after him, so is my brother. The Essential Elvis Presley. Now this one, if you want to talk about a good track list, there isn't a single dud on this entire thing. I'll let you go ahead and read that for a second because it's just amazing. The Essential Elvis Presley. I still have yet to put this on the turntable just because I've heard every song like 100 times, but I'm gonna play it sometime soon. Next we have probably my favorite album at the moment. I've listened to it probably 5 or 6 times since I've listened to it again, and it's amazing. Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. It's as classic as classic gets. Everybody has this album. Everybody loves this album. And what is there even to say about it? It's just perfect. It's been my flight album for my last 3 flights. All right, now we're getting into one of my favorite artists. A lot of controversy, but I don't care at all. Imagine Dragons, and this is their newest album, Loom. Got the standard cover because it looks sick. There's also an alternate like orange and blue, and then there's an alternate green cover. Love this album. There's only 9 songs on it, but if you could show me a miss, I challenge you to do that because every song on here is great. Not to mention the cover is so good. I have, just a spoiler, I have all their albums, except for one. All right, next we have Mercury Act 2. This album is better than Act 1, but both of them are amazing. This one has some really deep cuts on it. Higher Ground, Crushed. I think Wrecked is on here as well. No, Wrecked is on the first one. Bones, I Don't Like Myself. So many good songs on this album, so definitely check this out. This and Mercury Act 1 are their most underrated projects because I feel like many people didn't actually listen to them, so definitely check this out. All right, next we have, to no surprise, Mercury Act 1. Yeah, Wrecked is on here. That's the best song on the album, probably. No Time for Toxic People is great as well. I don't know. There's a lot of great songs on here because Lonely, Cutthroat, Dull Knives, they're all great. Check out this two-part album. It's amazing. Next we have Origins. A lot of people hated this when it came out. I personally love this album. A lot of great songs on here. Natural, Birds, Boomerang Machine, Cool Out. Bullet in a Gun is a super sick song. I don't know why people hate it, but that's their opinion, not mine. Sick cover too, by the way. Then we have one of the best rock albums, and their best album by far, Evolve. This is another one of those examples of, I challenge you to name a bad track on here because every single song is a banger. They don't even have Next to Me on here. That's, I guess, an Apple exclusive, and that song slaps too. Yeah, that track list is insanely good. Their best album by far, but all of them are amazing. Then we have their first album. I don't have Smoke Plus Mirrors. I'm gonna get the deluxe edition though because I like all 8 additional songs. I love all 8 additional songs, and some of them are the best on the entire album. So I'll do an unboxing of that eventually because I'm definitely getting it soon. But my final album of theirs, Night Visions. This is the classic Radioactive and Demons album. Everybody knows it. But there's some other great songs on here too. Amsterdam, Fallen, Bleeding Out, Underdog. Great album. Nothing Left to Say and Rocks. Great songs. All right. And now we're getting into my other favorite artist. And kind of the reason I started collecting vinyls in the first place because I started listening to his music and I absolutely fell in love with it. And I decided that I need to have this in some physical form. You probably know who it is. If you know who it is before you watch this part, comment down below. You probably know who it is. Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. This album absolutely slaps. Anybody who says that Kodak Black out-rapped him on Silent Hill is just straight up wrong. He killed that song, he killed the album, and even though it's not my favorite of his because he has such a high tier, high caliber discography, this is still a fantastic album. All right, next we have a lot of people's favorite album of his, including my brother, Damn. This album is fantastic. It's dark, it's gritty, but it's also extremely catchy and enjoyable to listen to. I've listened to it probably 4 or 5 times all the way through now. It's so good. And another one of those challenges of try to find a bad song on here, and I bet you won't because there isn't a bad song on here. X-Rated is one of his absolute best songs of all time. Slaps every single time. His most underrated and underappreciated album, Untitled Unmastered. Not much to see here, but that's what I love about it. It's super simple. Only 8 tracks on here, all untitled, but some of his best beats and some of his best flows ever. Like track 8, track 6, track 2, track 4. Really the whole thing. What am I talking about? The entire thing. If you haven't listened to this, which I doubt you have, definitely go watch or listen to it. My favorite album of his, Chris Lara, if you're watching this, he would disagree, but this is his best album, and it's not even close, because To Pimp a Butterfly is probably the greatest hip-hop album to ever exist. The cover's fantastic, by the way. The cover is just super classic already. It's only been out for 9 years, which is crazy, but it's a fantastic album. Some of the best hip-hop songs of all time are on here. King Kunta, Institutionalized, Mortal Man, All Right, one of his biggest hits of all time. The Blacker the Berry, How Much a Dollar Costs. This entire album Not only is every song amazing, but it's a cohesive story that is effective and extremely impactful when you listen to it, and it's emotional. I love this album, and I can never say enough good things about it. But his other best album, which I understand because it is an absolute banger, is Good Kid, Mad City. I have the deluxe edition because the 3 bonus tracks, The Recipe, Black Boy Fly, and Now or Never, are all great. I thought Collect Calls was going to be on here as well. It wasn't, but that's still a great song as well. This has a lot of hits that I love, and while I don't think it's as impactful as To Pimp a Butterfly, it's still an amazing piece of work by Kendrick Lamar. All right, next we have another one of my favorite bands who's actually releasing a new album soon, so I will definitely go give that a listen. We have Linkin Park, Minutes to Midnight. I've listened to all their albums, and I haven't gotten their last 4 on vinyl yet, but one of them is coming. The other 3 I still have to order eventually, but they will be here soon enough. But Minutes to Midnight, Shadow of the Day is my favorite Linkin Park song of all time, and that's on this album. Album's a banger. Don't know why people hate it. They just hate everything. Next we have, I would say their best album, but it's a toss-up between this and Hybrid Theory because both of those albums are fantastic, but Meteora is an absolute banger. Numb, easily one of their best songs, but Lying From You is probably my favorite song on this entire album. Somewhere I Belong. Dang, Faint is on here too. This is such a good album. If you haven't listened to Linkin Park, listen to all their stuff. If you only want like classic Linkin Park, listen to their first 4 albums. And then we have Hybrid Theory. Hybrid Theory is such a sick cover. And when I listened to this for the first time, I didn't know what Linkin Park was really about. I listened to it and I was like, yeah, I completely understand the hype. Paper Cut is the first song on the entire album that they've ever released on an album, or at least in studio album form. And that's one of their best songs. I listened to it in the car on the way home. Fantastic stuff. Next we have another artist that I recently started listening to, and I actually love all their work. And while I do think this is their weakest album, it's still very good. Nirvana, Bleach. Bleach is not his best writing, but the vibes are there. It's trashy, it's grungy, and it's really good. It's not as good as their other 2 though, because their other 2 are some of the best like grunge rock albums of all time. Classic, as classic can get. I know it's a controversial cover, but I'm keeping it up here because it's the cover, and anybody who's weird about it, that's on them. Great stuff. There's an argument between what's better, this one or In Utero, and I love Nevermind. I love it a lot. There's so many great songs on here. Something in the Way, Smells Like Teen Spirit, In Bloom, you know, Come As You Are, Polly, so many good songs. But I think In Utero is better. And this, they sent me the limited edition pressing, so this is actually a slightly different cover. It's more yellow and more red, whereas the other one had a bit more laid back colors. You know what the original one is. I'll throw the original cover up there, but this is In Utero. I love this album so much. This is peak Nirvana. It's raw, it's gritty, but it's super, super enjoyable to listen to. It's scary too sometimes, like it's disturbing, but in a good way. All right. Next we have, my sister's gonna love this section. We have the One Republic albums, and I got the Target Deluxe Edition, slightly different cover. I actually like this cover a little bit more than the original. This is Artificial Paradise. It's a great album. My sister didn't like it when she first listened to it. Then she started to come around to it because I love it. And I actually love all their albums. But some of their best songs are on this. I mean, Sink or Swim, Sunshine, I Don't Want to Wait, West Coast, Runaway, Singapore, Stargazing, Room for You. So many good songs on here. I love it. But easily, their best album of all time, and my sister would absolutely agree, is Human. Such a good cover, Such a sick track list. Another one of those where not only is every song great, but every song is like some of their best. You know, Distance is one of my absolute favorite songs of all time, especially from them. Next we have what many people I think would consider their best album. It's one of their best for sure, and that's Native. Native is so classic, and when you listen to it, you get like those old, at least for me, I get those middle school vibes because this came out when I was younger, and Counting Stars is just one of the most popular songs of all time, but it never faded for me. It's always been amazing, and a lot of people don't like hearing it anymore just because it was so popular. I love it. Love Runs Out, If I Lose Myself. Side A of this album is fantastic, but it's all good. And that's actually all the One Republic covers that I have, or albums that I have. I'm getting all of them soon. You know, Waking Up, Dreaming Out Loud, and then Oh My My. I'll get those as well, but not yet. And next we have, my sister calls him Posty, Post Malone. I have all of his albums, spoiler alert, because I love Post Malone. And while this is probably my least favorite of his, or second least favorite, just because it is a departure from his normal trap genre, this album still slaps, and for a country album, it's really good. There's a lot of good songs on here, and his voice lends itself really well to the country genre, so definitely don't sleep on this. I know it's super popular, especially in the South down here. Everybody knows it, everybody loves it, and I love it too. It's just he has better music, and it's not saying this is bad at all. And now this is the other one that I would say is not his best work, but there's still some slappers on it. So this is Austin, and Nova Candy, Green Thumb, Chemical. Those are great songs off this album, and this album is still really good. Like, trust me, it's not bad. But if you listen to his entire discography, you know that his early stuff is the best. Well, I can't say that because all of his albums are good, including 12 Karat Toothache, which has one of my favorite Post Malone songs, Wasting Angels, and it also has Lemon Tree on it, which I absolutely love. And there's a lot of other good songs on this album. Euthanasia is really good. Overall, great stuff. And we're getting into the last little section here with my favorite album of his, my sister's favorite album of his, and his, I would say his most popular, but also his most divisive, because he switched genres into pop for this one, and I loved pop growing up, and my sister played this album over and over again. That's Hollywood's Bleeding. Absolutely sick cover. So many of his best songs are on this album. Take What You Want, Enemies, Circles, so many bangers. It's a fantastic album. Listen to it if you haven't. You definitely probably have, though. Now we have some of his best songs too on here. I keep saying that for all of his albums, but he has really good music. Beer Bongs and Bentleys, and I know you're probably not familiar with this cover. I think this is the original cover, and then the yellow like CD one is the deluxe or the digital cover, but this cover's sick, and this album slaps. Okay, next we have what many people consider their favorite, I think. I know I asked Josh his favorite, and he said Stoney. Stoney is a very good album. It's so good. There are so many hits on here. White Iverson, Deja Vu, and Congratulations, of course. But my favorite song of Post Malone's is on this album, and it's up there. That is such a catchy song, and it flies under the radar because those other songs are so popular. But that song is his best, in my opinion. Just 2 more vinyls to go, and it's actually really sad because I was enjoying this. Sorry, 3 more. We have An Evening with Silk Sonic. And I know this is credited with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, but it's a Silk Sonic album, so I have it in the S's. This album is super, super underrated. It's a very laid back and very vibey album. Funky beats, groovy beats, super enjoyable. Didn't hate a single song on here. In fact, loved the majority of it, if not all of it. Super fun to listen to. And finally, we're getting to the section that my brother would love the most by far, and that's the Tame Impala section with his best album. I've been doing some reading about Tame Impala rankings, and people say this is his worst album. I don't know what they're doing because this is his best. Tame Impala releases nothing but bangers, except for his first album, but it wasn't bad. But I'm gonna get it eventually. Just nowhere near the quality of this album. The Slow Rush, again, not a single bad song on the entire track list, and that's saying something because he has some amazing music. And this is not typically a genre I would listen to. I don't listen to a lot of psychedelic music, but I've been listening to it more because Tame Impala is just that good. And Black Pumas is a little bit of psychedelic soul, so you should listen to them if you like psychedelic music as well. My final album of the day, Tame Impala's Currents. I argue with my brother about which one's better, this one or that one. And I think Slow Rush is better. Currents has some deep cuts that I love. I think the cover might be better as well. My brother loves the B-side cover with the orange instead, but I love the pink. I think it looks sick. This album is amazing. Both this and the Slow Rush are two of the best like back-to-back albums that any artist has ever released. But with that, my album ranking is done. Or not my ranking, my album review is done. Let me know in the comments what you like the most out of my collection. And then again, if you want to recommend any music to me, please leave it down in the comments. I love listening to feedback and I love listening to music that people recommend to me. I almost always love it because people hit me with some good recommendations. So I'll see you guys in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope you love the video.